Hey there, welcome to Block 2 of the Quilt Block Challenge, also known as the Quilt Block Challenge. Yes, I posted this on social media. Yes, I posted it on this video without noticing my typo. Yes, I probably could use an editor. No, I don't have the budget for one. So I'm just going to point out all the bloopers. So here we go. Let's get serious. Here's the template. And I have 2.5-inch strips here because it's a 6-inch block. We can use 2.5-inch strips, which means if you have jelly rolls or other 2-inch strip collections, you can use them on this block fantastically. First thing I do is fold the template both directions on each of the stitch lines. In this method, we're not going to actually sew through the paper. We're going to sew next to the paper, and that means that you can use the same template over and over and over to make as many blocks as you like. I use this method to do a queen size quilt, and the single template worked all the way through. So this little ruler is one of my favorites. It has a little lip edge on it for trimming. That is a glue stick for fabric and a 2.5-inch strip. So when you start with A1. These are all numbered. You're going to tack it with the glue stick right side up on the template, right over the A1 spot. So we're using fabric D. Now we're going to trim that strip. So we're going to fold back the template out of the way, take the ruler with the lip and butt it up against the paper edge. And we're going to look for our rotary cutter. There it is. And we're going to just trim that away at 1/4 inch. Okay. Unit 1 is in place. Now, because we've trimmed that 1/4 inch edge already, we just lay the next one right sides together, edge to edge, bring it to the sewing machine, line it up edge to edge, bring it to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew right close to the paper without touching the paper. If you sew into the paper, your template will just deteriorate as you work with it. So if you want to use this template over and over, be really careful as you stitch this. And you might want to try out some different feet on your sewing machine so that you have a good view of that line. And then we unfold it, finger press, and then we do the same process again. Here I'm just going to show you how close I stitch. Okay, so now on for the next one. And as you go, if you want to put a little dab of glue under each of those sections, that's perfectly fine. You can also use pins. Being the rebel I am, I kind of just wing it and hold it in place. So depending upon your level of perfectionism, you can choose. And we are going to repeat this process all the way down the line, filling in all of those rectangles. I don't know if you noticed, but I turned the speed down on my stitching, which helps me to not stitch on the paper if I'm going just a little slower. So at this point, I decided I should press it with the iron. And I don't know if you can see the A up in the right hand corner is smeared. That's because I printed this template with a, what's it called? Not an inkjet printer, the other kind of printer. I learned something. Don't print with the other kind of printer. And I'll put the words up here as soon as I remember what that other printer is called. But inkjet printer you can press, and you will not smear the ink. I'm not even sure I noticed it at this point when I was actually doing it, because I think I pressed it one more time and went, uh-oh, I made a big mess. Oh, yes, I forgot to mention, if you want to use the exact same fabrics I'm using, they are available on Spoon Flower, and I have the QR codes for how to find them on the digital download that goes with this pattern. So I have dollar digital downloads. You get the template and you get the links to the fabric if you want the fabric. Of course, you can use your own fabric. But sometimes people say, where did you get that fabric? I want that same fabric. So that's why I'm doing it like this. So I'll have the link below where you can find it on my website. And now you want to trim to the edge of the template. There we go. Oh, I think this is where I'm pressing it again and smudging that ink even further. Yes. I think I got a little on the fabric this time. So that means I have to clean the bottom of my iron, but that's okay. So now we're going from A6 to A7. So the first thing I want to do is trim and check the edge of all of those units that I've just pieced. I also want to make sure that my 2.5 inch strip is going to cover the area. So I'm going to fold it back, lay it down, use my handy dandy ruler. And this part is where I probably should have glued or pinned that strip with the units. Probably should have pinned or glued that down to the template. So I just gave it a press. Now I'm trimming to the edge of the template, and I'm trimming to the edge of the template. Probably need a new blade. All right, looks good. Now we're going to do the corner. Now, I'm about to make a mistake. I'm just going to tell you up front because I'm using the 2.5-inch strips. I need to make sure that however I place this, it's going to cover the template. And I did it wrong. So on the following 3 corners, I do it right, but I want you to watch this. I could have edited it out, but I think it's a good lesson. So here, obviously, I can see that it's not going to cover. And I turned it the other way, and I thought, yep, it's going to cover. Look at that, it's going to cover. But it is just too tight. And by the time I sew the seam, it doesn't cover. You'll see that in a minute. So I like to be super frugal with my fabric, as I assume you do. And a lot of times when I sew these blocks, I'm not using strips. I'm just using chunks from my stash, chunks of scraps and whatnot. So because I'm using the 2.5-inch strips, I wanted to see if I could make it work. So here I'm testing it. I keep thinking, yep, this is gonna work. Like, that's where I have to sew it. Look at that, it should work, yay. So I finger press the crease in, and I lay it down, trim it. Don't do it this way, folks. I shouldn't say don't do it this way because I am not a perfectionist, and I do wing it a lot. You probably could make this work if you were more precise than I am. See, it looks like it should work. It covers the corner. Okay, so maybe I just didn't place it and stitch it accurately is all that happened here. So the template is shifting, the fabric is shifting. Look at how precise I'm being. Okay, let's do it. And oops. So you see right there, I have template showing. Now, depending upon the kind of quilter you are, you might say, oh, I can just ease that into the seam allowance. It'll be fine. And at this point, I haven't decided whether or not I want to leave it and ease it, or get out the seam ripper and pick out those stitches. So you'll have to wait to the end to see what I do. Once again, I'm trimming to the edge of the paper. Now let's see. Can I improve that scenario? I feel like I should have some mystery music playing in the background. Should work. And once again, this probably should be pinned. I recommend pinning even though I'm not doing it. Do as I say, not as I do. What my mother used to say. And we trim. So basically, I guess this means don't be too stingy with your fabric unless you don't have more to work with and you have to be. Just take a little bigger chunk because look at that, it's perfect. So I'm going to speed this up so you don't have to watch the next side because it's the same as the side you just watched, and we'll move on from there. Giving it a final press here. Now I have to make my big decision. Do I pick it? Or do I work it into the seam? That means I'm going to pick it. I remember learning to sew in 4-H, and I don't know anybody who likes picking stitches out, but I remember loving to sew, but hating to do the seam ripper scene. This is a short one, so it goes pretty quick. See, I'm learning to pin. Would I rather pin or pick stitches? I'd rather pin. I'm actually pressing that little corner because believe it or not, after all this, I think maybe I can still make it work. And then I think about if it doesn't work, I have to pick it out again. So I make a different decision. I decide not to be stingy. And the rest is history. So I do know that this block would be easy enough to sew in a traditional way and not have to use the template, but that requires more math, and I'm kind of not a math girl. So once you get used to this template method, you do get hooked on it, and that's kind of where I'm at right now in my life, hooked on these foundation paper piecing. I also really love the other kind of paper piecing. Boy, I have all the words today, don't I? Okay, here we go. I'm going to give this thing a good solid press. And usually when I press it this time, I do give it a little bit of sprinkle of, I shouldn't say sprinkle, that's the old days, spray of some fabric starch. And then it comes out really, really nice. And then I like to always measure. You shouldn't really have to because you use the template and if the template is the right size, but it's kind of a habit of mine. And so, ta-da, 6.5 inch unfinished. And here's what it would look like. This is a mock-up of a bigger quilt. You can turn those blocks all different which way and get different results. I can't wait to see or hear from you. Yeah, leave me some comments. Let me know if you tried it and what you think. You can leave me a comment even if you didn't try it. Thanks, guys. Bye.